Introduce each other.
Tania Brassesco.
Lazlo passa in Norberto.
One word to describe your working place.
In divenire.
Autodidact, because I left all high schools or universities after a few months.
Could you go to the working place during this pandemic?
In questo periodo di lockdown siamo rimasti bloccati in una piccola casa studio. Stavamo giusto cercando uno spazio nuovo a Milano e stavamo anche per rientrare un paio di mesi a New York.
Fortunately, my studio burned last Friday, so a year before Corona. So I was banned back home to my museum, and I was just kept in my old studio. So it was no real difference.
If you look out of the window, what do you see?
Un giardinetto incolto e fiorito, gatti randagi e un sacco di libellule.
Trees.
COVID-19 and generational gap.
Sicuramente questi strumenti hanno permesso alle nuove generazioni di sentirsi più vicine, forse hanno risvegliato un senso di unione e appartenenza a una comunità, anche attraverso la condivisione di espressioni creative.
Naja, I'm a past generation. I'm so it's called in German Auslaufmodell. I had my studio in the country where no email could reach us, no phone. I have allergies against technology, not when I was young, but now in my old age I come back to natural resources, also energy-wise. In the neighborhood of telephone or handies or WLAN, I get toothache, so my body reacts tremendously against technology.
Beh, sinceramente io sono ancora in fase 1.
The air of change is something which we as young artists in the 50s and 60s already promoted. We wanted to have free money, no interest, no property, so we were in a way communists, in a way, but in a good sense. And that change doesn't come by free will, it comes only through catastrophes. So I don't want to make heroes out of catastrophes, but they help us to stop a wrong evolution. We are not aware that money in itself can be a terrible thing. It can be a good thing, it can be a terrible thing. But we were aware of that in the 60s. And so now, in the time of this urgent catastrophe, and it's a worldwide catastrophe, it's not a local one, I hope that people will wake up, human beings will wake up before we destroy nature. Nature will destroy us.
Unity is strength, creative resilience.
Credo che un concetto condiviso assuma sempre una certa potenza e questo periodo ha messo in luce probabilmente quanto sia importante l'arte e la cultura in tutte le sue forme e quanto queste aiutino a metabolizzare ed elaborare un periodo buio ed un cambiamento a livello sociale così importante.
It takes both. It takes solitude and it says community. So as an individual, it's always a kind of balance. How much do I have to be myself, and how much can I then be part of a larger union? Okay. If I'm before I'm myself in a union, I'm just a follower. I'm not important. I'm like a herd of sheep. Okay. But if I can contribute myself or my whatever I have made out of myself into the community back, I can be a helpful member. And this in every sense, art-wise, social-wise, whatever.
Do you feel proud Italian?
Mi sento orgoglioso dell'inventiva e della creatività italiana.
I'm half Italian. My ancestors were Italian. There is Silvius Magnano, the Obmann of Südtirol, who was fighting with the Italian government for the regulations for South Tyrol. And so I grew up with an Italian grandmother and I have Italian ancestors. We were very proud as children to have an ancestor which was called Teresa di Chiusole.
How do you see Bologna? If you were the mayor of the city, what would you do?
Ho sempre trovato Bologna una bellissima città, sia come scala che come senso di familiarità che mi trasmette. E se fossi sindaco probabilmente investirei in arte, cultura ed economia sostenibile.
I was in Bologna, I was fascinated not only by the architecture, but the spirit of this town. You can feel history, you can really feel centuries. I felt very strongly a right interpretation of communism, although I wasn't aware of the history of the city. When I then found out by discussing things with Prince Tolippe, who had invited me there, I realized this was a city where a strong, very good and human-oriented communism had and you feel that. So Christianity in its original sense, if I were the mayor of Bologna, I would freewillingly declare that I give half of my yearly income to a fund and inspire the 100 richest people of the city to do the same, share that money, make artificial money only for Bologna, give it to the people with the condition they must spend the artificial money within 1 year in the local area.
Why do you consider yourself an artist?
Per me essere artista vuol dire dare una dimensione alle proprie visioni, al proprio pensiero e portare avanti con passione la propria ricerca.
Because others considered me an artist. I did art as long as I remember, from childhood on. I always created. Let's say I'm a creator.
Is it more fun being an artist or...
Dio vendicatore.
I don't know if it's more fun in this life. I'm very thankful that I could be an artist and that society made it possible that people could be just artists. Okay. It's an honor.
What was your position before being an artist?
Sognavo di fare regista cinematografico.
I wasn't born.
Is the artist genius and intemperance?
Non credo che questa definizione rispecchi l'artista oggi, sinceramente. Direi più genio ed edizione. L'artista deve avere una mentalità aperta, una visione seria e concreta di quello che è il proprio lavoro.
It's very difficult to say. There is a genius which is outside of ourselves, which I call my spiritual guide. And I'm responsible to that spiritual guide. And that is not really me, it's part of me. If I think that is me, then I overestimate myself. As an open-minded or an open-spirited receiver, as an artist, a musician, poet or painter, I'm part of a larger geniusship.
What is it like working in the artistic world in Italy?
Particolare e sorprendente, sia in modo positivo che in modo negativo, e probabilmente più complicato rispetto a tante altre realtà straniere.
We cope as artists also with the material world, and that's a temptation for an artist. Are we more responsible to our genius or to the matter of fact bread and butter life? But we still have to eat and feed our children. It's a balance and it's a moral question.
Does meritocracy in art exist?
Credo di sì, abbastanza, o almeno mi piace crederlo.
Unfortunately.
For or against donation of an artwork in exchange for visibility?
Contro. Il lavoro di un artista deve essere riconosciuto e rispettato.
Or poor people who have never been visible, I can understand them. Doesn't matter. If the piece of art is finished, I can donate it for social things, for whatever.
Who is the artist who sells more artworks?
Probabilmente quello che riesce a interpretare la contemporaneità con una chiave di lettura unica e particolare, e anche chi è rappresentato da buone gallerie.
I don't know.
Who is the most underestimated artist?
In Italia c'è la tendenza a sottovalutare gli artisti sotto una certa fascia d'età.
Hilma af Klint, the Swedish first abstract painter.
And the one who is overestimated?
Quelli generati dalle bolle del mercato dell'arte.
Oh, maybe Picasso. I could name many. Also in the first category, there are so many good artists which are never known, and so many who are overestimated.
Who would you like to work with?
Sicuramente uno di questi è Gregory Cruzzo.
Cristo.
Who is the best Italian curator?
Mi avvalgo della facoltà di non rispondere.
Unfortunately, I'm not aware of today, but in the 60s, this was Arturo Schwarz
Okay.
as a gallerist.
And the most beautiful?
Ce ne sono talmente tanti che non vorrei fare un torto a nessuno.
Oh, I don't know who is beautiful and who is not beautiful.
What are your plans for retirement?
Non credo andrò in pensione.
Oh, I will never retire. I will die.
Is there anything you'd like to do?
Forse The Weather Project di Olafur Eliasson.
Live a little bit longer and do everything which... Oh.
Okay.
Is there a work you regret?
Sinceramente le opere di cui non eravamo convinti sono rimaste chiuse in un cassetto.
Imponente, colorata, chiassosa, kitsch, fine a se stessa.
Yeah, maybe the period when I was involved in the American Nixon, in the political struggle, and I became a comic painter. Commentary politically without being figurative.
Yes.
You cannot do that in an abstract matter.
Is painting for old people?
Probabilmente questa domanda è da anziani.
Now, yeah, it is a difficult question. It's for people who like working and capable of working. I mean, there's a lot of art which can be done by thought. And I call it the lazy artist because they cannot work.
Is digital art considered art?
Beh sì, l'arte non deve essere definita dal suo media.
I have no idea. There will be no many art forms in the future. Photography was not considered art. Any art which only figured Franz Hals, peasant girl, was not art because it didn't hero-ship a pope or religion. Art will always be and art. Every artist stands on another shoulder. It's always part of history.
One remorse and one regret.
Vorrei poter dire come De André che ho impostato la mia vita in modo da morire con 300.000 rimorsi e nemmeno un rimpianto.
Yeah, I wrote down not enough energy for my 4 children and physically that I aborted children. I refused the entrance of more souls into my life. But that is also fading away. I made peace with those souls. I made a real ritual. But today when I see my 4 children, I regret that I have sent 3 away.
Something you cannot really do.
Beccare il punto di cottura giusto del risotto.
Climb a cherry tree anymore.
What is the first thing you do when you end an opera?
Un respiro profondo e guardando quello che hai realizzato assapori tutte le scariche di adrenalina ed endorfina rilasciate nel corpo.
Thank the beings who have inspired me.
Do you believe in featuring?
I remember of a past life where I was part of the Chartres school. Chartres is a cathedral in France, and I was part of that tradition. And sometimes I'm homesick for it's called the Bauhüttengeist, the spirit of the artist who worked to build that cathedral. To receive an idea, you have to be alone. To do it, you can be with others.
Who would you like to work with?
Sicuramente uno è Bill Viola.
With the spiritual world.
How much do social networks contribute to your research and reputation?
Sinceramente credo poco, non siamo molto attivi a livello social, però ne capiamo le potenzialità.
I don't know social networks, and my son Simon did a gallery tour through my works, so I gave that away. I'm not part of the digital world.
Do you do Instagram works?
Non è quello l'obiettivo, ma possono funzionare bene anche sui social.
I do not know what Instagram means.
Do you have more followers or haters?
Tra quelli che si esprimono apertamente più follower, poi chissà.
I hope to leave this world without haters and that the followers find their own way.
An artist who could be your father.
James Turrell come figura paterna, Monet per trascorrere assieme pomeriggi nel suo bellissimo giardino e David Lynch per i racconti della buonanotte.
Girolamo di Paolo.
An artist who could be your mother.
Margaret Cameron.
Hilma af Klimt.
An artist who could be your lover.
Mai scegliere un artista come amante.
Homer.
An artist who could be your heir.
Un po' presto per parlare di eredità.
any being, any human being.
Have you ever been mistreated by another artist?
Sinceramente no.
Only because my lover and later husband was an artist.
An artist you would never have as an enemy?
Tania Brassesco.
No answer, I'm not available for enemyship.
2 adjectives if you think about CUBO.
Curioso e fluido.
If you were in charge of the direction of CUBO, what would you do?
Mi circonderei di collaboratori molto validi e fidati e darei molta importanza alle loro opinioni.
What would you say to CUBO?
Continuate a dar voce alle nuove generazioni di artisti. Credo ce ne sia un grandissimo bisogno in Italia e questa cosa vi fa onore.
Have you sung Bella Ciao from the balcony?
No, ma la richiedevo sempre come canzone della buonanotte quando ero piccolo.
As I don't have television, my information about this was through my son. I was very enthusiastic when I heard about it, because that reminds me of what Italy means for northern people. It's sunshine, singing, joy, humor, and I love Italian people for this character. It's sometimes called light-mindedness, like Germans are too serious-mindedness, but the lightness with which the Italian, it's also religious acceptance in the whole thing, that you can sing although catastrophe comes. I love Italy for that.
The song or musical genre that inspired you mostly when you work?
Musica strumentale, rock, indie, psichedelica, classica.
In my past it was Bach, very much. Now I listen since days to the music of my son, and altogether I would say Avo Pecht. He is a musician who in this century can still do sacred music without being old-fashioned. I love him.
What is your greatest talent?
Cerco sempre di ascoltare e comprendere chi la pensa in modo diverso da me.
I do to accept anything as part of my destiny. No accusation, not being a sufferer, but to accept anything. It's my I made my destiny.
Do you have a more stable emotional relationship with your artwork or with a person?
Sinceramente non lo so, tutte le relazioni sono complicate ed evolvono nel tempo, anche quelle con le opere.
Definitely with the artwork, otherwise I wouldn't work. Unfortunately, it's part of my life was also having children, so my children might regret that, but you cannot do art if it's not the most important in your life.
Who are you insured with?
Preferisco l'incertezza nella vita.
Destiny.
If you meet Mary Bauermeister, what would you do?
La inviterei a cena e mi farei raccontare tutto sulla sua vita e sulla sua ricerca.
If you meet Tania Brassesco e Lazlo Norberto, what would you do?
Show each other what we did as artists.
Have you ever worked together?
Purtroppo no, ma sarebbe molto interessante.
Maybe in a past life as member of the Bauhütten guys.
One word to describe the artistic practice of Mary Bauermeister.
Spirituale e libera.
One word to describe the artistic practice of Tania Brassesco e Lazlo Norberto.
Open-mindedness.
What would you get from Mary Bauermeister?
La sua abilità di sperimentare continuamente con forme e media diversi e la capacità delle sue opere di comunicare con la natura stessa.
What would you get from Tania Brassesco and Lazlo Norberto?
A view into a future generation of artists and art.
What do you think he's gonna say about your research?
Spero niente di troppo drammatico.
Out of another time, historic nostalgia, fading out model.
Wish Mary Bauermeister one well.
Ti auguriamo che la vita non smetta mai di sorprenderti.
Wish Tania Brassesco and Lazlo Norberto one well.
Mankind.